So today I've got Mike Nesheim here in the podcast studio, and we're going to be talking about cars, whether you should buy one, lease one, finance one, and some of the other considerations around this. Certainly we've had clients ask these kind of questions. It's a big purchase. It's something that people bring to their financial advisors to discuss. So Mike, what's been your experience with talking with clients around buying and leasing cars?
Yeah, I mean, every client obviously is going to buy a car most likely sometime during their lifetime. And it's a very important decision for, really, it's one of the largest expenses they're going to buy during their retirements. Most already have their houses, some do buy cabins, etc. But the houses or the car is going to be a big factor in large expense purchases during their lifetime. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to look at all the factors. And really, it breaks down to between leasing and buying a car. What I like to do is tell them it's a process. The start in the process to me is figure out what kind of car you want, right? And the best factor and the best way to go about that is if you have the ability to not go right away and you're at the point where you have to buy the car, the more time ahead that you can actually plan ahead and start picking and choosing what is the perfect car is the right way to go.
That makes a lot of sense. So if your car, one of your cars is down to its last leg, the emergency lights on, the check engine, then you're going to be under some stress to try to make a quick decision.
Exactly, and not that can, you could still come out just fine, but you might be less likely to come out with the perfect opportunity, or you might pay a little bit more than you're thinking.
Yeah, so it seems like maybe start thinking about that process before you need to.
Exactly. If you can have that planned ahead, that's going to really simplify the process for everybody. And then at that steps, after that, it's, okay, pick the car, pick the model, then ask for the price. Ask for what's going to be the price from cash. So that way okay, if I'm able to come in with cash, here's what I'm paying. Mm-hmm. After that, then we can start talking about, are you going to do a lease or are you going to do a loan for that car? And the reason why is if you know the cash price, they can't come back and say, what they're often going to do is they're going to say, if you want to do a loan, well, how much is a payment are you comfortable with? Mm-hmm. And then they'll come back and say, well, we can get you $600 a month for 7 years. And you're like, oh, okay, great. But reality is you might be paying 8 or 9% in interest rates.
Right.
So knowing the cash amount up front, then coming back to the interest rates really can help through the process.
And I maybe want to preface all this is that most of our clients are retired, heading into retirement, maybe have been in retirement for 5 or 10 years even, right? So these are folks with a portfolio of assets available to them, right? So that their income is coming generally from portfolios, pensions, Social Security, things like that, right?
Exactly. The majority of our clients are retirees. We have plenty that are not, and some are business owners, but many are going to be retirees. And we're going to look at what is the effects of distributions from their portfolio. So when we get to the interest rates on potential loans, we're going to be looking at, okay, what kind of value are we giving up on your assets? What kind of interest can we earn from your assets if we maintain it versus the interest rate that you're going to pay for that loan?
Right. You mentioned that a couple of years back, interest rates were much lower, right? Sub 2 even. And nowadays, maybe the interest rates are 6, 7, even 8%.
Yeah, if you can get under 6 or under 7% right now, you're probably getting a pretty decent interest rate on your car loan. Mm-hmm. And then the factor is, when we're calling 6, 7%, that's really a borderline level of, do we want to do the loan or do we want to pay with cash?
Right. So there's effectively, 3 options, right? So you could buy the car, you could lease the car, or you could make some kind of payments on a car and pay it back through a third party or a bank.
Exactly. And we're looking at the loan, it's going to become into factors of what's that interest rate, what are the tax implications of the assets that we need to withdraw to get that cash if we're going to pay for cash?
Yeah, say more about the taxes. So if I'm going to buy the car, it's maybe $30,000. I kind of have that earmarked. I'm going to raise some funds for my investments. That's where the taxes come in?
Exactly. So if we have the majority of your assets in, let's say, in your IRA assets, well, every dollar we take out of that is going to be taxable income. So depending on what your current tax bracket is, from your Social Security, your pension, and your regular distributions might put you at the top of a tax bracket and might push you into the next tax bracket if we do a full distributions of $30,000-$40,000 plus the tax on top of that.
Right. Yeah, you've got to pay tax on the amount so that you can have the $30,000 or $40,000 to make that car purchase.
Exactly.
It's-
to get
and-
to get us 30,000, we might have to actually withdraw 45,000
to pay the taxes
exactly
to cover the 30. Yeah.
So everybody's a little different. Some clients have all their assets in IRAs. Some might have a significant amount outside of the IRAs that can make it much more tax feasible.
Yeah, so other than interest rates, are there other factors that kind of help you think through buy, lease, finance?
Yeah, if we're looking at the lease versus the buy structure, really it's going to come down to a couple of factors. One, how long are you planning on holding that car? Are you a person that likes to have a new car every 3-4 years and are willing to pay a little bit maybe extra over the long run, but less maintenance as well? Then a lease is probably a good option to consider.
Yeah, technology, like you say, the low maintenance, looks nice in the yard.
Exactly. If you like that, strongly consider a lease. You're going to pay a little bit more over the long run, but you're going to have a nice car. You're going to have less hassle, less maintenance to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we think about buying, it sounds like if you're thinking beyond 5, even 6, 7 years to own that car, certainly you could sell it at some point, and that's another conversation. But if you're going to buy, maybe think about holding for 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to hold it, but that'd be a plan. Generally, when I'm looking at a car, I'm thinking, how long do I want to hold this car? If it's 5 or 6 years or longer, I'm probably going to buy. And then the other factor is, even with the lease, at the end of the lease, most leases are going to let you have the option to buy that car. So I actually did do one lease. I ended up buying that car in the end because the interest rates at the time were low. And also the value of that car was far exceeding the price that it cost me to buy that.
Oh, so when you enter a lease agreement, you might get a buyout offer from the dealership?
Generally, you're going to get a buyout offer with that initial purchase agreement.
Oh, and you might know that up front then?
You would know it up front.
Oh,
yep.
well that's... Yeah,
so I knew going in, I think the car value was back during the early 2020s. And I think the value of my car was at least $10,000 more than what I had to pay. So
yeah.
it was a very easy decision.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's see. We've talked a bit about kind of the buying, different modes of doing that, whether or not you have to sell investments. What are some other things that you have to think about when making a car purchase?
Yeah, well, when we're going through the whole car purchase process, one of the things to remember is the number one, kind of advantage you have over the dealership is the willingness to walk away. So most dealerships are a little better than they were 20 years ago, where they generally were going to have a set price, so you don't have as much hassle on trying to get them to come down in prices. But even still, the only real thing that you have the ability to do to really win in negotiations is say, I'm walking away.
Right.
And if you're willing to do that, you're going to generally come out with the best deal you can.
Right. If you've got time on your side, you're not in any pressure or any rush. There's not that sense of urgency. You've got a year to figure it out, 6 months to figure it out.
Exactly. Even if you just have a couple weeks,
sure,
where you can do a couple of calls or looking on the internet and calling around and see what the current interest rates are, things like that.
Yeah,
really can add up.
I was thinking about insurance. That would be another topic that there's an added cost. So a newer vehicle, higher insurance, or some other like taxes, registration.
Registration taxes are very high in Minnesota right now. For new cars, you're going to pay quite a bit.
And that's every year you have to pay some kind of registration, and that.
Yep, your license tap fees are going to be can be significant, and as the car gets older, it does come back quite a bit in price.
And then insurance, again, people probably have their existing car insured, a new car probably more to insure, right?
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to contact your insurance broker or your insurance agent after you do buy the car, and make sure that car gets insured properly.
And then another one that that if you're at their finance desk, they might say, well, we can offer a warranty. Warranties, could mean a lot of things. What about some of these add-ons that dealerships might try to sell? What are those?
Yeah,
what do you
so
think
one
about
of
that?
them is called gap insurance.
Okay.
Gap insurance is going to be if, as soon as you walk off or drive that car off the lot, the value of the car is less than what it was the minute you drove it out.
It's not a new car anymore.
It's not a new car anymore, and unfortunately, they do drop in value right away. And if you happen to get into an an accident, and literally total that car, you might not get your full value from the insurance company at that point. So there is a gap insurance, and it might be something to consider.
Okay.
The other thing to look at from the dealership that they might often talk about is either an extended warranty or a lifetime warranty, and that's going to be to protect the expenses of the car for unknown maintenance that might come up or unknown issues.
So a newer car might have a warranty, but getting an extended warranty or a more comprehensive warranty, that's kind of what you're saying, or that's an additional?
It's an additional cost. And often not cheap, but if you're someone, again, that doesn't like to deal with the hassle and is willing to pay a little extra for knowing what your upfront cost is going to be for many years, even a lifetime warranty can be valuable. I personally got one on my most recent vehicle. A lot of these vehicles now have a lot of computer chips in them and different things that can go on and go wrong. And for me, it was worth it not to have to worry about for that particular deal.
I think about like the oil changes and all that. Sometimes there's some, you can get a package where if you go back to the dealership, they'll, rotate your tires and some of those things. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I did get I think 3 free oil changes from the recent car dealership.
Sure.
That was my 3rd car I bought with them. And,
oh yeah.
I was able to get a little bit of a deal by talking through things, saying I've been here before. So just a little tidbit to consider.
Yeah. Do you think there's any advantage to getting a referral or working with, a salesperson or a dealership or?
There could be. I think the more important thing is find someone you trust and you can get along with.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't feel right, maybe that's a reason to walk away and talk to someone else.
Yeah, if you're feeling too much pressure and
Exactly.
I suppose there's plenty of people to sell a car to you on any given day. At the start, you were talking about like find the car that you want, and that the reason I kind of come back to that is what if you come back to Mike and we look at the portfolio and we say, well, that's either maybe a little bit expensive. Do you ever come back to that, or is it more just?
Yeah, what we like to do at Vector is we always meet with our clients, right? We're meeting with them, we're reviewing their financial plans on a regular basis, and I try in every meeting to ask, what do we have coming up that's a large expense? Is it a wedding? Is it a car purchase, etc.? Well, obviously cars are going to be pretty frequent. And when we do, if we know that a car is coming up in, say, the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to earmark cash or assets within the portfolio specifically for that car purchase. So when it comes up within the next 3 years, it's going to be out of the stock market. And then that way, that can allow us and our clients to make these decisions on, do we want to use cash? Again, go through that whole step. Find out what the cost of the car would be with cash, what's the interest rates, and make an economic and smart decision for that point.
If you're doing that strategic financial planning, you can have a sense of 3 years or so, 5 years, we're going to want to upgrade that car.
Yeah, and the real reason why is we never know when a stock market correction is going to occur.
Yeah.
The last thing we want to do is, for whatever purpose, whether it's a car or other new means, is having to sell stocks at the wrong time within the portfolio.
Yeah, you mentioned taxes, certainly that's, trying to optimize or just figure out a way to make that make sense.
Yeah, so every client's got a different tax situation where we do annual tax reviews with our clients to try and figure out what it is, where are you at with your taxes, what opportunities are there. Part of that process would be buying the car is, if we're looking at what is the tax implications to get you, say, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 plus for that car purchase.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this is not necessarily a conversation that happens and a week later they buy the car. Ideally, this is something you're thinking about, a year in advance, 6 months at least,
Preferably. Yeah. We have plenty of times where it comes up, you never know when your car is going to.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a client today, said his transmission went out. So,
Sure.
When those happen, you're limited on what your options are.
Yeah. I feel like that covers quite a bit of it. And I'm sure people will have questions. I guess the answer is reach out to Financial Planner, reach out to Mike, get a hold of us at Vector. We can help you think through this. If you're not a client, then consider reaching out to us also.
Absolutely. We're always here to help, and we really want those calls from our clients because we're comprehensive financial planners.
Great. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you coming in, talking about cars and leases, buying. It's going to be a good summer, so.
Looking forward to it. Good luck to the Timberwolves tonight, and hopefully they can win.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Ezra.
Hey, thanks for listening to our podcast. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Be sure to consult first with a qualified financial advisor and/or a tax professional before implementing any investment strategy.